Brewer with SG Voices and Study Groups. It's really nice to have you on the webinar today. We're going to be talking about the road to ROI. So the road to ROI, how AI-fueled logistics and customer engagement tech drive growth and efficiency. We're entering the world of tech. We've been in it for a long time, but it's still coming at us. We're trying to learn it and get our arms around it. Even still today, AI is now introduced into this larger tech world. And how can we use it to drive our businesses forward and become more profitable? Really happy to be able to have some industry experts on the call today to help us navigate this new road ahead. We've got three presenters. One is Eamonn Clarke, who is with CLI Transport, which is a transport division of Sheetz. So really pleased to have him as a fellow marketer, being able to talk to other marketers peer-to-peer. Joining him is Mike Scharf, who's the CEO of Gravitate. And after Eamonn and Mike talk, we'll turn the floor over to Davy Nixon, who's the president of PDS Solutions. So really happy to have Davy on the call as well. And a little bit about Gravitate, just to share a high level, but they provide AI-driven software, which is designed to help fuel retailers, wholesalers, carriers, people just like you with their supply and logistics decisions. They have a waitlist fuel supply and dispatch platform. It allows for supply management, optimized order generation, supply optimization, automatic dispatch, in-cab technology, invoice reconciliation, freight billing. It does a lot of stuff. But it'll be nice to have their experience here on this webinar today. And when we get to Davy at the end, I'll share a little bit more about PDS Solutions as well. But Eamonn, I want to turn the floor over to you to ultimately share with us more about this road to ROI and how we can get there. And just briefly before I do, for the audience, we want this to be as educational as possible. We want your questions to be able to be asked and answered. I have you on mute. So if you have a question, please type it into this GoToWebinar framework. I have the ability to see those questions, and I'll relay it to Eamonn, Mike, or Davy at the appropriate time. We're going to be recording this and also send out these slide decks to you after as well, so you have as a resource so you can share with a colleague. But just really appreciate your engagement on this webinar, because you're the reason we're here. So Eamonn, with that introduction, tell us more about this road to ROI.
Sure. I'll start with a little bit about CLI Transport, Sheetz. So most of y'all know Sheetz. We have 814 stores now. Or Sheetz has 814 stores, 25,000 plus employees. And CLI Transport is the dedicated care that services 100% of the petroleum and renewables deliveries for Sheetz. We have over 600 drivers, 28 different locations across 7 states. And my role as Director of Petroleum Distribution is to oversee distribution or dispatch, as well as all things related to technology, be it the back office and also the telematics side, the truck computers and the workflows between our drivers and our back office. So just starting there, been with CLI for 12 years, going on 13, in the fuel industry specifically for 33 years. So a little bit of knowledge, hopefully, that built up across that time. And in my 12 years here, the first 11 plus years, we had a different TMS, terminal management system that supported the distribution function that we're wholly responsible for. My group is. And it has been around a while. I can tell you, my prior employer, I was with them for 8 or 9 years. We also had, coincidentally, the same software. And so if you add those up, 16 so years of the same technology. And I can tell you, it was great in terms of, it was a workhorse. It got the job done. I wouldn't say it did much more than that. It wasn't dynamic. It was, when it first came out, as most technologies are, it was disruptive in the industry. But for us and what we needed to prepare for our future growth, Sheetz is an aggressively growing company. We're on the road to 1,000 stores. We'll be there before you know it. And I needed to have a technology that was there to support that, right? So not to dwell on the past technology, but it didn't meet what we need going forward. I needed a dynamic solution that opened doors for me, didn't hold me back. I wanted it to take advantage of modern technology, right? It needed to do that. And I wanted it to be built for the industry specifically, to work with partners that understood fuel from soup to nuts, and just being okay at it wasn't what was going to cut it for us any longer. So that's what started me down this road of trying to. It's a big deal to change your back office, right? It's what I do. It's like the biggest thing that this department did. So we didn't take it lightly, and being in the industry for 30 plus years, I know you meet a lot of people. The big industry, small group of people that seem to work in it. So I always keep my ear out, my eyes open for what's happening in the world of technology. And so that's what got us started. So the goals that we wanted to have, and that would specifically in dispatch, starting there, I was on the path to hire a new dispatcher every 9 months to match the growth of Sheetz. Like that's what it took to support using our old technology. Our supply, our sourcing, our allocations was all done very manually. That's why I had to hire so many people, like ongoing, because it took people to sit there and work through, to try to figure out what is the best supply, what's sourcing, what's our pricing, because that's how to do. The more stores we had, the more complex our supply model got. That's why I needed something more dynamic and called AI driven to help us get there. The other thing, I wanted to shift in architecture a little bit. We hosted our prior TMS. I wanted to go to a SaaS solution. It just opened a lot of doors for us with other applications, other systems connections for security reasons, and also just the maintenance of those systems and the in-house tech debt that we had to maintain hosted applications. And that's just you can look at it both ways, but that's where we decided to go. So those were our goals really into it. Came across Gravitate, worked with Tom Hunt, their VP of sales, extensively. Got to know Tom really well and Mike very well as we started down this journey. A lot of discovery, a lot of discussions with Mike and his team to understand the product, piqued my interest a lot. And so much that we took on, this is just how we did it. We took on a pilot with them. We stood up 2 of our pretty sizable markets, but in different states, and we ran through in parallel with our old TMS to see how it performed. Primarily interested in at that stage the optimizer, what we call the optimizer or auto dispatch. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. That relates to dispatchers and how they're used. The pilot was very successful, right? It's hard to do things in parallel. It takes a lot of work, but we were able to prove out that the sales pitch was real, and what they said they were going to provide, it was working. Very pleased with the outcome of that pilot. Anecdotally, I have a 10-year dispatcher, probably one of my best. In the end, we said, okay, Mike, we're going to have you go against the machine, and took him to dispatch an area. We had the optimizer run it. And let's say, I won't bore you with the details, but it took about 44 minutes for him to do it, to dispatch this area. The optimizer did it about 1.5 minutes. Now, to be fair, we at the time, it was a pilot, not everything is, as it would be in production, but I was like, oh, wow, this is something special. So we went back in, and the solution wasn't perfect. So we went back in and human augmentation, like, okay, well, it modeled it a little better and got to a better solution. And it took about 15 minutes. So we had about, in that little case, about 75% reduction in time for the dispatch function. Now, dispatchers do a bunch of other stuff besides load planning, but really opened our eyes to what's possible with this technology. So from there, Worked with Gravitate, Mike and his team, on what else the application could do. There's a bunch of details, and the devil's in the details, right? So we had to work through a lot of that, and went towards implementation. It was March 4th of this year that we went to production with it. We did pull the Band-Aid off and just did we didn't do it like, okay, and different people may have done it differently. We did it all at once, which we cut the old TMS off, or certain drivers had loads from the old TMS, and the next sign in to the ELD with those drivers, they got a Gravitate load. So it was a hard switch over, very successful. We did a lot of planning, mind you, but I can tell you, we didn't miss a beat. I was like, oh boy, we might have runouts, we might have this. Had some things to work out with the way, it's all new, but Sheetz didn't know it. That was a huge victory for us, which is switching over the whole entire back office system. And if I called someone at Sheetz and said, hey, did you notice anything? They would say, about what? The stores didn't miss a beat. We had no runouts. We successfully went over. Now, there's some long days. I mean, it was like, everything's perfect. But it certainly was a very successful switch over. And I think the timing of this discussion is good because, as busy as we are, I've now processed, I pulled up delivery counts, almost 200,000 loads since March that I pushed through the Gravitate system successfully, right? So that's enough for me to say, hey, that's pretty solid proof in terms of volume. Things have come up. The Gravitate team's been very responsive in working through to help match the software to the way we do business. I'm sure every petroleum company does things a little bit different in their dispatch and their needs and what they need systems to do, but they've been really responsive in working through all those things. Another example I can give you in the results, and I have 100, we don't have much time. This one will relate. Recently, we had a weekend, and I don't think it matters why it happened. It could have been weather, it could have been a holiday, driver schedules, or just something Sheetz was doing in sales. But on a Friday, even with all my trucks out, I probably lost almost 2 million gallons of inventory, right? So that means as fast as CLI was hauling the fuel, Sheetz was out selling us. No stores ran out, but huge swing in overall inventories that we manage, because that's part of our function, right? Is to manage inventory at the store level. But then Sunday it came ripping back. Maybe the weather, maybe it rained, didn't make a difference. The stores fill back up. I can tell you, with the old TMS, that would have been a disaster to have such wild swings in inventory, in forecasting retains or runouts on the Friday versus how quickly it was leaving the tanks. And Monday we got together and we said, wow, that was some pretty wild inventory swings, and dispatchers were like, yeah, we didn't really notice, right? So it's a testimony to how reactive this technology is to accommodating those swings, catching them, adjusting the forecaster, and then planning the loads appropriately. So it's one thing to say we've really improved dispatcher efficiency and where they spend their time, but I can also tell you it's important to us to give our dispatchers a good job, a quality of life. Like, no one likes to be stressed and to have these highs and lows in their day to day and come to work and be like, I love my job, but man, it's stressful. We took, some days are busy than others, but we took a lot of that off to say, hey, I'm flatlining this. Your experience day in, day out is going to be consistent and rateable, right? So a huge win, not just in, some of the other metrics, but from the people perspective, dispatchers are a lot happier than they used to be. 40-50% dispatcher efficiency gains, that's fair. Now, dispatchers, as I mentioned earlier, do other things besides dispatch. They talk to drivers, they work with exceptions, they do a lot of things. But really, having the optimizer do that planning and then just have more of their time spent in reviewing it, accepting it, or maybe augmenting a little bit with some head knowledge that, like, oh, I like to change this up because whatever situations they're dealing with. But I think that's a very solid and fair assessment of how much time we drove back into the dispatch group, going from hiring a dispatch every 9 months to I'm not forecasting now to hire for 2 years with this group out here, and we'll see where it goes from there. All right, that's just 6-7 months in. That's what I'm seeing, and maybe it'll stretch out. I certainly hope.
Eamonn, a question for you: as you're going through this discovery process, I'm sure you're looking at a lot of different solutions. What were the couple things that really jumped out that, like, man, this Gravitate could do this for me, or what caused you to make that initial jump to run that pilot?
I really think it was going back to where I was, preparing myself for the growth of Sheetz. I had to be ahead of them. They're saying, hey, this is where we're going. And Sheetz is an extremely innovative company. They move fast. They're technologically driven. And that was the impetus behind driving me to look for a better solution. There's this thing that runs around Sheetz is like Sheetz is looking for the thing that's going to drive the Sheetz of today out of business. Right? That doesn't mean we're not out of business, but always disrupting ourselves. So we don't sit around and be like, well, this is just good enough. I'm doing the job. Let's just accept our level of success and just accept that. That's really not in our DNA, right? To just accept that. So I think that's what drove us to get there. The couple of things I would say, if I was going to put 2 pins in it, one would be in optimizing my dispatch team, and the other would be the next bullet, which is the systematic approach to sourcing and supply, right? So we work daily with the Sheetz supply team to execute their strategy, and to have a system that does it systematically, like that, and measurable, versus something that would come from the supply team and say, hey, try to go do this, and then a dispatcher would, I'm going to have to go figure that out, and I hope I do it good or well. That wasn't good enough for us. So now I can have the system do it. The results are controllable. I can analyze it after the fact. I can tweak the system, change my directives to do a little better. And I think those are the two things that drove me this direction.
That makes a lot of sense. And changing systems, you talked about this, it's hard, right? And you had a fear of, man, are we going to be running out our biggest customer? And a lot of people will not get involved in something just out of fear. It's not broken enough, and I'm going to disrupt things. So I'm sure you had some learnings as you did the transition. What were some of those learnings? It sounds like you did it successfully, but if you were to share something of what you learned or would do different along the way to make it even better, what are some of those tips or tricks?
I think it was as simple as put in the work, honestly. From the training that we did for our drivers, we took the time to have every driver, run through parallel loads in the truck leading up to it across the 600. We had to train 600 plus drivers, training internal managers, setting yourself up for success. I think that was a lot of work, and planning it out and sticking with the plan. I mean, it sounds simple, but you've got to take the time to work through your plan and then execute your plan. We were, I don't use the word fearful, but we were apprehensive. And I heard, Eamonn, it'll be okay if some stores run out. And I know it's going to be difficult. I was like, man, I don't know. We were happy with the results. So that's, I can say. There you go, Mike.
That's right. Yeah, good testament for Mike. And Mike, I'm just curious, maybe from the Gravitate side, Eamonn is citing some of these examples, 40 to 50% dispatcher efficiency gain. He gave one anecdote of used to take 44 minutes to dispatch it, and you were able to do it in 1 to 2 minutes with your system. What's kind of the magic in your system that allows for those kind of gains?
I think it's understanding first principles of business, and as Eamonn mentioned, doing the work. Like, we've invested millions and millions of dollars in workflow automation and embedded AI to try to drive towards our mission, which is autonomous dispatch. This idea that at some point in the future, we can get to where dispatchers are just managing exceptions, and we're letting technology do the majority of the physical and mental workload. So I think Eamonn's point of just doing the work, right? There's no easy button. I think everyone thinks with AI there's an easy button. There's not an easy button. Everything is hard, and you just have to invest in it day over day, month over month, year over year, and you'll make strides. So, Eamonn mentioned 40 to 50%. We're super happy with that. We want to drive it to 50 or 60. We want to enable his dispatchers to do even more to optimize the business, and support drivers and support the rest of the business. So, perfect. Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you, Eamonn. We very much appreciate the partnership. We've learned, I think, a tremendous from you and the entire work. I'm going to spend a few minutes really talking more broadly around our perspectives on AI. So I am Mike Scharf. I am the co-founder of Gravitate. And we provide AI-enabled technology to the fuel industry, including our leading supply and dispatch software and our rack and delivered pricing solution. And today, I'm going to build on Eamonn's content and really share our perspective on AI and how it's going to continue to be injected in fuel supply and dispatch. I'm going to go pretty quickly, but there's three things I want to talk about. I want to reset our definition of what AI is, because I think it means a lot of different things to different people. I want to talk about why AI. So why should you, as a carrier, fuel wholesaler, retailer, be interested in it? I'm going to be talking about some really good use cases that Eamonn's already mentioned. I'll build on some of those. And then I'm going to try to do a rapid demo of some new agentic AI. So if you haven't been living under a rock and you're interested in technology, you probably keep hearing that term over and over again. So I'm going to explain what that is, and I'm also going to give you a quick demo of something that we're working on. Awesome. So what is AI? Really simply put, AI is when computers or machines are designed to think and learn like humans. AI is not new. It's been around for 80 years since scientists started exploring the idea on whether or not computers could think. And over this period, there's really been many types and flavors of AI. And each of these types really has an important place going forward to help us make more intelligent, autonomous decisions. So over on the right, we have this kind of continuum of types of AI. Rule-based AI are simple systems that are coded to replicate what a human does. This could be as simple as an Excel spreadsheet, if-then statement, or it could be something that's coded into a software application. Optimization-based AI, these are algorithms that are designed to find the best decision mathematically. So these are systems that are based upon operations research that are, again, solving the problems mathematically. Machine learning, which we started hearing a lot in the 90s, really allows you to learn patterns from data to make decisions. And since the 90s, and certainly over the last several years, we've taken huge strides. So Gen AI, which is built on machine learning, is really AI that creates new content, whether that's text or images, using solutions like ChatGPT. And then finally, agentic AI, which is the latest craze, is really AI that's built on Gen AI, that thinks, it plans, and it acts autonomously towards a goal. So the big key with agentic AI is it takes agency, it takes action. Our view is each of these types has a place to allow us to meet our organizational goals. So let's talk about why AI. So why do I need AI within fuel supply and dispatch, right? The problem is really simple. All we need to do is avoid runouts, ensure we've got the lowest cost supply, and safely deliver fuel to our customers, right? It's really simple, but we know it's not that simple. It's not that simple because we've got data everywhere, thousands of supply prices, terminal and product outages, terminal wait times, changing store inventory levels, the great example that Eamonn mentioned around the holiday and the weather event, truck capacities that are changing, contract obligations and allocations. So we've got a lot of data that we're trying to consume throughout the day. And we're trying to make the best supply option. Do I buy contract, rack, inventory? What's the best terminal? Do I buy a pre-blend? Do I blend it? Should I split it? Should I consider off-site blending? Should I do a milk run? Should I short load? So all of these considerations that I'm trying to make. Lots of additional logistics considerations. How do I make sure I have the greatest efficiency of my trucks? How do I dispatch the right loads to third parties if I use third parties? How do I make sure that I'm hitting all my order windows? No retains, no runouts. I need to be aware of driver carding. I need to make sure I'm maximizing the volume on the truck, but not violating weight restrictions. So lots and lots of logistics considerations. And I'm trying to do this in a typically, not every org, in a siloed environment. I got a supply specialist or supply team. I've got a team of dispatchers. I've got a bunch of drivers, and I may have some carriers. So again, trying to make these really hard, complex decisions in a siloed environment. And I'm making it in a very dynamic environment. So by the time I've established my plan, I've got midday price changes. I've got big market moves. I've got supply outages. I've got weather. I've got a Sheetz promotion that's driving demand to the stores. The reality is, most of us work really hard to avoid runouts, make our drivers happy and carriers happy, and hit supplier allocations. And for, I would say, the average org, everything else is just done okay. So our message has always been, if we can get better, the upside is huge. So if we're an org that moves 100 million annual gallons, we think by making better decisions, we can find between 30 points and 3 cents of upside. So that can mean a lot to the bottom line. Awesome. Well, one other thing just to add to this, and I did some research today, one of the things that's making these opportunities continue to be real is volatility is still there in the market. I looked at the average day-over-day change in RBOB over the last 4 years, and while this year has felt a little calmer than other years, really hasn't been. If you take out, on average, we're seeing a 3.5 cent day-over-day move in RBOB. If we take out the 50 heaviest, for 50% of the heaviest days, it's nearly 6 cents in day-over-day change in RBOB. So that's really creating a lot of opportunity. So let's talk quickly about 6 different areas for where AI, it makes sense to leverage AI. So the first is demand forecasting. So really, machine learning is really a great tool to help us predict short-term and long-term demand. These models can easily see seasonality, whether that's time of day, day of week, or true seasonality. But as Eamonn has reminded us, these models can't do everything. So they can't handle every exception. So let's take an example. Let's assume demand spiking. And what agentic models can do, so agentic AI, and what dispatchers do today is if we see demand spiking at a site, we need to identify that demand spike, and then we need to take the appropriate action. So one of the things that we believe is a good opportunity to introduce agentic API is being able to handle the actions of a dispatcher. So in this case, I have a huge demand spike at a store, and there's 2 things we can do. We can move the load up, or maybe order another load. So the question that we keep asking is, how can agentic AI assist our existing technology to try to reduce, again, the mental and physical workload from a dispatcher and provide consistent service? The second area of AI is supply planning. The number one biggest decision that's made in any retail organization is their annual supply decisions. What terminals or market areas do I buy at? How much volume? How much should we buy committed volume versus rack? Should I buy Argus, Platts, Opus? How much current day should I get versus prior day pricing? Should I do a lower of and pay that optionality? How much 6 p.m. or midnight pricing? Making these right decisions set your organization up for taking advantage of what we call these micro ARBs. These ARBs that exist in the market every single day. They could be location ARBs, they could be Opus, Platts ARBs, but these ARBs range anywhere between 3 to 6 cents, 50% of the time. So math-based systems, simulation-based systems can really help you evaluate this optionality to make sure that you're making the best decisions every single year. The next opportunity is daily load planning. And as I was going through this morning, I'm like, it's really not daily load planning. It's really real-time load planning in today's world. So how do I make sure I've got the right volume to a site? How can I make sure I've got the lowest delivered cost to every site? How do I make sure that I'm optimally using my locations and taking advantage of micro ARBs? How do I make real-time changes when markets move or supply outages occur? So again, this is a good example where mixing math-based AI techniques and agentic AI can really drive efficiency within the org. So within our software, we have a bunch of math-based systems and we have some rule-based systems, but we're continuing to evaluate where agentic AI can help with really exception handling.
Well, Mike, I appreciate you, kind of sharing some of those tips and tricks. I know you have some more, but we're going to need to move on to Davy here a little bit. But AI is a huge thing, and I just appreciate that you and Gravitate are pioneering some of this stuff, because we hear the words tossed around a lot, but how can we actually use it to do something new or different in our company? That a lot of people are missing that presently, and you're kind of stepping through, hey, these are some things that are on the horizon and even some things we can do right now.
No, that's right. That's perfect. Yeah. No, I appreciate the opportunity to share more about our AI.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Mike. Davy, I'm going to jump over to you, so I'm just going to make you the presenter real quickly. And while you're getting your screen up, I'll just share a little bit about Davy Nixon's company, which is PDS Solutions. PDS Solutions specializes in customer portals for petroleum marketers and distributors, for people like you on the call. And they help their clients improve business efficiency and enhance customer service. And really, they have this platform. It integrates with all the ERP systems that are out there and other third parties to allow for a greater level of operational efficiency and data management. You can streamline your operations and provide real-time insights to make more informed decisions. So, Davy, I know you're going to be talking just a little bit about customer portals today and how it's a gateway to efficiency and automation, how we can streamline our tasks and do that integration and enhance communication as well. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you to tell us how we can enhance efficiency and automation. I think we got you muted there, Davy.
Thank you so much.
There we go.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I appreciate you joining me. My name is Davy Nixon. I'm the founder and president here at PDS. I've worked in the industry for 20 years now and have had the privilege of working with many different types of companies in this industry. Today, I want to talk about customer portals and how they can improve the way you interact with customers, from improving processes such as order management, payment processing, reporting, and just overall customer communication. We work closely with lots of types of petroleum marketers and distributors in the country, and just try to help them modernize their operations and improve the customer experience through a customer portal platform. over the years, many of my customers have shared with how their portals have helped them scale their business, by not only by improving efficiency, but also, building trust with their customers. And then, byproduct of that is it's helped them attract new customers by offering just an easy, intuitive, transparent platform, for their customers. These days, most customers expect modern tools for doing business. In this industry, we tend to lag behind, but just having an easy way to see your account information and do routine things like place orders and make payments, can be huge for a company. It drives customer satisfaction and paves the way for sustainable growth. I think one of the goals, with a portal is to, optimize manual processes, and, ideally, that platform, can not only integrate with the ERP systems, but also with other systems like Gravitate. With many customer portals, customers can place orders and make payments and view account information. And one of the benefits there, they can do it anytime, when they're available, and ideally that's from not only a computer, but from a phone, through an app, while they're on the go. Streamlining ordering and payments processing eliminates the need for as many calls and emails. We all get busy, and being able to perform these basic tasks, for customers to be able to perform these tasks on demand is a huge win for a lot of companies. Enhanced communication and transparency, means customers, know where their account stands. Without a portal, they're kind of in the dark. They have to call or email or text to find out, simple things like, what's the status of an order, what's the price today, what's my balance, and and things like that. A portal can also, provide options for real-time alerting and notifications, a payments, their account's been drafted, an order's in process, and things like that. Ultimately, I think a good portal provides, it's got to be easy to use, and it just provides the transparency that leads to stronger loyalty with customers and retention. I mentioned, integrations. For a portal, I think integrations are key. It's most, a lot of portals these days. There's a portal for seeing your account information. That some people have a portal for placing orders or viewing orders, and then a different one for payments. I think it's important to have a single platform that combines all those things together in one place. Asking customers to go to different places is not the best experience. We love working with platforms like Gravitate. They have modern APIs that let us do a lot of things. And those are open APIs that lots of systems can use to communicate. And thinking about the transition from Gravitate to this part of the presentation, orders, something as simple as orders, a lot of times, even within our platform, a lot of times orders get created and then they get communicated, through some kind of, an email or some other process, and then they have to be manually entered into different platforms. Again, not to toot Gravitate's horn too much, it's nice to have a modern system where you can use APIs. An order can originate in one system and get communicated to another one. I think portals, having up-to-date information, provide, just a lot of transparency. Having up-to-date information on account balances, orders, deliveries, and different things, is really critical for a lot of businesses, a lot of your customers. And for you, providing a portal, ultimately means fewer support calls and emails, freeing up your staff to do, other more value-added tasks. And not only does it reduce workload, but it also builds trust. Customers can have that transparency to see, why is my balance what it is? They can see the transactions that make up that balance, and just have that visibility to the information they need to do their business.
Davey, while you're talking, I'm thinking a little bit of the airline industry. I think most of us use, apps and things for, whatever airline we're flying on. And I'm just thinking of the old days where we used to pick up the phone to try to place orders, now we can just go on and search for flights and then even see our account balances. We can see our itinerary and petroleum marketing. We haven't moved along as quickly in that. That's what you're talking about, developing these portals. Why do you think we've been slower to the table on some of this? And we know how much airlines, just as an example, have saved in customer support calls. People can just access that information right on their phone.
Yeah, I think it's really the scale, there's millions and millions, hundreds of millions, or probably billions of people, I guess, that are interacting with, airlines. This industry, it's small. So, just having the options, we're always going to lag behind, I think, to some degree. But, these days, consumers and businesses, expect that kind of experience. And, I think it's important to be able to provide, as close to that as you can.
Do you got a sense for the share of petroleum marketers out there that may be offering a portal like this?
I wish I had better numbers, but I would say there's probably more that don't than do.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And, really, I don't think there's a lot of competition out there, a lot of options out there, I should say. That's, PDS, we integrate with a lot of ERP systems. And I'd say of the systems that we integrate with, half have a portal that they offer and the other half don't. So, just having that awareness, I think of, there are options. All right. So I think I've gone a little fast. So Jeb, I'm gonna ask you to save me a little bit here, but I do want to give some takeaways, with the portal. I think there's a few important things. A lot of people come, when they start evaluating a portal, they're thinking about, efficiency and automation, but not always, to me, one of the biggest benefits is just that transparency, building up that trust with customers, which, ultimately gives, a competitive edge over your competition. The more you can share with your customers, and the more it just helps them to run their businesses, having that clarity and being able to do things, simple things like, make a payment without having to put a check in the mail, or, make an order, place an order. These days I hear a lot of people, even just today, I was talking to a carrier, talking about how their customers, are, some of the customers, send a text message at, middle of the night. And if he looks at it and forgets to get that order added, that order could be missed. So just having a platform that just makes it really easy for customers to do routine things like this can be really huge.
Eamonn, I'm kind of curious, as a retailer and transport operator, are there areas where you've used portals in your businesses to reach customers? I mean, obviously the loyalty apps and things that you have at the Sheetz level, but I'm just curious, any thoughts you have on what Davey has shared?
No, I appreciate that maybe in my prior life, something like that would have been more applicable. We're pretty closed loop in our service to Sheetz. So a lot of the communication happens intra-office rather than through a portal of that manner. So.
Yeah. Well, Mike, I think you had a couple more things that you wanted to share. We got a little bit of time here, and I was cutting you off early. Would you like to make any additional comments?
Sure. I can give a little demo of our agentic AI. We have a second.
Yeah, let me give you controls back, and we'll just take that time real quick to do it. 1 second.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess we've appreciated the partnership with Davy and PDS. They've been tremendous to work with. So yeah, we have several shared customers, and yeah, appreciate the partnership. I think their customer portal is fantastic, really great in terms of what they're trying to do to provide seamless customer service. So I love it. So I'll just finish these two things and then show the demo real quick. But after dispatch automation, and I think Eamonn talked about that, document processing. So historically, OCR was really hard, but with some new AI vision technology, that's gotten a lot easier. Still not easy, but it's 100 times easier than it was. So one of the applications that we're about to roll out is OCR, new AI vision OCR on BOL documents. So whether that's taking the image of the BOL and marrying that with the driver data, or eliminating the need for the driver to enter the BOL altogether. So again, really excited with some of this new tech that's coming out that allows us to, again, either confirm the driver entered the right data or reduce the need for the driver to enter in the first place. So we've done some pretty cool proof of concepts to prove out that can be done, and done pretty easily. And then the last area that I think is really interesting, which is really tied to what Davy's doing in terms of how do we provide great customer service, is agentic AI and connected systems can really provide internal and external customers with a higher and kind of more consistent service levels. So, today, and we love them or hate them, the good ones, you don't know are chat agents. The ones that aren't bad, they're chat agents. But a lot of times when we're chatting or talking to people online, they are agentic AI. They are not real people. So we put together a demo. So our newest Gravitate employee, her name is Piper. She just started. She's still going through the training phase, but she really came in to help provide support to dispatchers and drivers. So I'm gonna start a conversation as a driver that we all know, and I'm a driver. Art Kruger. I've just arrived at a drop site, so I just picked up fuel, and I'm currently dropping at store 125. I've got my in-cab up, and I've just retained. So I'm going to go to my chat agent. This could be Slack. This could be a driver messaging feature within the ELD or within our in-cab. I'm going to tell Piper, hi, Piper. I have, sorry if I can type, I have retained on order 85658. Now, one of the benefits of agentic AI or Gen AI is its natural language. So I could have asked this a number of different ways, but I said, hey, I've retained, and she came back and she said, okay, I found that order. It's 9,200 gallons of unleaded 8710. So this agent knows how to connect to Gravitate via our APIs, and she confirmed it. Now she's asked me how much gallons got retained. So I'm going to go back and I'm like, I retained 2,000 gallons. So now, like, hello, how much? Okay. So remember, Piper just started, so she's not great. Here we go. I'm going to try this one more time. But what should have happened is, look at one of these flows, is I would have told her how much gallons retained. And then what she can do is she can look for nearby stores that have ullage. And you can see, like in this case, she said, hey, I have a great option. Store 140, that's 12 miles away. That's got 6,000 gallons of ullage. And then Piper said, does this work? And if I were to say yes, then she would automatically change the order. I'd see that new order in my in-cab app. And really the idea with agentic AI is we're again, taking away the physical workload from a driver. This could be in the middle of the night. It could eliminate the need to have as many night dispatchers. So really what we're trying to do around agentic AI is really looking at all of those exception handling cases and saying, can we provide better and more consistent service to drivers and dispatchers? Perfect.
Yeah, that's awesome, Mike. I love this natural language automation and how we can query information and sort over big databases and then spit out answers to us. It's so slick, and I'm excited about the future. And yeah, glad you guys' firms are helping lead the way as we all move forward. Again, for the audience, I just want to thank you guys for being on the call. I want to thank Davy, Mike, and Eamonn for sharing their experience. We know your time's valuable, so we want our education to be as useful and helpful as possible. We'll send out this recording as well as the slide deck. And again, if you want to share it with a colleague or review it or otherwise. Wanted to remind you to check out our SG Voices website. On there, we have articles and other educational resources. Also, put on your calendars, November 13th with ROC Associates and Pythia Scorecard is going to be our next webinar. So that's November 13th. Love to see you there. And lastly, we want to hear from you. If you got any feedback for additional education that we could provide that would be of benefit to you, when you close out of this program, there'll be a very quick, couple question survey. Encourage you to fill that out so we can continue to provide the most relevant content to you. So thank you again for being a part of SG Voices, to our panelists, and we just hope you have a wonderful day. See you next time. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.